faucetware businesses continued to sustain into the fourth quarter as well. The sanitaryware business and the faucetware business both continued their positive trajectory of growth during Q4. These present trends are expected to remain strong in FY 21-22 as well. The temporary blip of the second wave has halted offtake of products as some markets remain closed in April and May. We at Cera do not see this as a worry going forward. Demand is expected to exceed supply, and since Cera's manufacturing operations remain fully operational in Q1 of 21-22, there will be an increased product availability going forward. The media campaign on staycation at home, which was unfurled by the company from September 19, directly connected with consumers post-lockdown. Recently, Republic TV recognized Kuch Pal Ghar Ke Naam as an innovative campaign embedded with a social message relevant to the current times. In Q4 FY21, the company initially took some more days than anticipated to restore the overall normalcy in production post the labor disruption of Q3. Sanitaryware operations required a plant maintenance cycle and fresh mold making process which took almost 45 days in Q4 to complete. So the one-time impact of plant disruption in Q3 also had a spillover effect in Q4. For the first 45 days, the sanitaryware plant operated at a capacity utilization of 75%, and for the balance half of Q4, capacity utilization was 95%. Overall, on a 90-day basis, sanitaryware plant operated at a capacity utilization of 85%, whereas our faucetware capacity utilization continued to remain high throughout the quarter at 92%. There has been a strategy to develop agile infrastructure by leveraging a mix of in-house and outsourced facilities to enable us to rapidly respond to evolving circumstances. This proved highly beneficial in the backdrop of the partial disruption, as we were able to increase volumes from our vendors to cater to the improved demand. Normal percentage of outsourcing in sanitaryware, which is around 50 to 55, rose to 65% during this quarter. In faucetware, the normal percentage of outsourcing, which is also 50 to 55, rose to 59%. Coming to our numbers. Revenues in Q4 FY21 were 431 crores, higher by 39% on a sequential basis. EBITDA, including other income, was 65.62 crores in Q4 from 48.21 crores reported in Q3 this year. The EBITDA margin has been 15.2% versus 15.6% in Q3 FY21. PAT was 43.02 crores in Q4 FY21 versus 29.09 crores in Q3 FY21. Due to a rebound in performance, Q4 this year has nearly reached parity with Q4 last year, despite the challenging backdrop due to the partial disruption at the manufacturing facility. For Q4 FY21, the revenue for the quarter stood at 431.37 crores versus 293.24 crores in Q4 FY20, which is up by 47% on a YOY basis. On a YOY basis, EBITDA excluding other income for Q4 FY21 was at 63.15 crore versus 42.4 crores in Q4 FY20, an increase of 48.9%. The EBITDA margin for Q4 FY21 stood at 14.64%, higher by 18 basis points. Profit after tax for Q4 FY21 has been 43.02 crores against the YOY number of 38.47 crores, an increase of 11.83%. EPS for Q4 was 33.07 versus 29.58 in Q4 FY19-20. For Q4 FY21, 48% of the top line was from sanitaryware, 30% from faucetware, and tiles represented 20% of top line. Wellness was 2% of top line. On a YOY basis, sanitaryware revenues registered an increase of 46.8%. Faucetware revenues increased by 62.3%. Tiles revenues increased by 39.2%, and wellness declined by 10%. The sanitaryware and faucetware verticals remain the bedrock of the business with contribution of 78% to our overall revenues. Cera continues to witness encouraging demand for its newly launched products. During Q4 FY21 and during FY21, our new products contributed close to 20% of revenues. The company has been receiving positive responses to its new packaging designs, which were introduced with an aim to create more brand awareness and for retail customer visibility. The quarter also witnessed an increase in raw material prices of ABS, of stainless steel, brass, zinc, and a few others. There was an increase in overall logistics costs due to rise in fuel prices. These factors led the company to undertake a price hike of around 5 to 7% in sanitaryware, 8 to 10% in faucetware from the month of February 2021. Inventory days in Q4 FY21 were 51.66 days compared to 62.01 days in Q4 FY20. Receivable days in Q4 FY21 were 53.24 days versus 56.78 days. Payable days in Q4 were 52 days against 44.36 days in Q4 FY20. Therefore, net working capital days in Q4 FY21 were 52.9 days versus 74.43 days in Q4 of FY20. As most of you who closely track our company are aware that this has been a strong focus area for Cera. Considerable effort to compress working capital has been made over the last few years. Some of the initiatives such as digitization, establishing local warehousing has enabled us to offer just-in-time inventory management solutions for finished goods to trade partners and large customers. These efforts have gone a long way enabling declogging at the respective locations and sites, leading to faster and smaller billing cycles for Cera, resulting in better receivable management. FY21 has largely been regarded as a period of disruptions caused by COVID-19. The company has adapted well to these disruptions and through its judicious capital management was able to increase its already high liquidity position. So, as on 31st March 2021, our cash and cash equivalents increased to 479 crores compared to 230 crores on 31st March 2020. Cash position has increased and become a significant portion of capital employed. ROC, including cash of 459 crores, was at 18% and without cash at 32%. Our capex spend for FY21 stood at 10 crores as against our initial plan to spend close to 22 crores. Capex for FY21-22 is estimated at 26 crores. Though significant liquidity has been released as working capital has contracted, we do endeavor to monetize all of consumer demand going forward. During FY21-22, we may use a small portion of liquidity to increase inventory levels and stock up on products from vendors. The board of directors have recommended a final dividend of 260% on a face value share of rupees 5. That works out to 13 per share, subject to shareholders' approval. To conclude, overall the sector fundamentals are strong and the domestic demand continues to grow at a steady pace. As we look ahead, we continue to see an immense potential for our products. Healthy demand coupled with a strong positioning in the industry should further enable us to gain traction and build momentum going forward. On the whole, we are confident of the future growth potential and opportunities across our markets over the medium to longer term. On that note, I would now like the moderator to open up the line for Q&A. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and one on the touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and two. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. The first question is from the line of Arun Baid from BOB Capital Markets. Please go ahead.
Hi, Ayush. Just a few questions on the number front. In this quarter, we did see our gross margins declining significantly, both, if I look at the YY numbers. Any particular reason for that?
There are three contributory factors, Mr. Baid. First of all, COGS increased due to two factors. In faucetware, sharp increase in the critical raw material of brass, and that sharp increase was consistent in every quarter from Q2. So the dramatic price decrease that in brass that we saw in Q1 of last year was beneficial to the company. We didn't reduce our prices. And as brass prices went up from Q2, Q3, Q4, we increased one price hike last year and one this year. That was one reason. The second impact on COGS was the mold. So post resumption of the factory on 22nd December, it took another 45 days to run a maintenance cycle and to build fresh molds for sanitary ware. So that's one reason why the COGS is impacted.
So going ahead, this should normalize, right? This is one-off in that.
See, COGS, if you look at the last 6-7 quarters, has been between 49 and 51%, and that's where we feel it should normalize. So the raw materials in sanitary ware are widely available. There is very little impact in pricing. So clay, feldspar, all of that have very little pricing, and availability continues to be plenty. The only moving item in this is brass. So zinc is less than 1% of raw material where the prices have gone up. So brass is the largely contributory factor. And the mold making process completed on 15th February. Since then, there's been no extraordinary maintenance cycle that the companies had to spend on.
So, sir, incrementally, for this year and going ahead, should we look at this quarter margins as the normalized margins, EBITDA margins, at least for the company?
See, we always look at between 14 to 15%. We are at 15.2. So anything between 14.5 to 15.5 is a good indicator. It's not really a guidance. It's a good indicator because we'll see the full effect of the February price hike kick in Q1 of this year.
Okay. And sir, today morning in your interview, you had basically indicated that 1450 odd crores. It was not a guidance, but actually indicated in that call with CNBC. So you mentioned 17% CAGR after that. So basically, you're trying to say that this growth of 17-20% is sustainable beyond FY22 also. Am I correct to understand that?
Even if you look at the year that has gone by, 2021, we would have ended with 1350. So the lost sales in Q3 we had given in our last call was 65 crores. The lost sales in Q4 have been 31 crores. So the 100 crore deficit would have been made up from there. So we would have hit 1325 in any case. So the plant disruption cost us lost sales of 100 crores, and the demand is way ahead of supply, and that is a phenomena we are seeing from August. There's been no change. The second wave may have closed down a few metro markets. Project markets continue to function. Wherever dispatches could be made, they were made. And as markets are opening up, there's again going to be a surge in demand. So demand is not the issue right now. It is just the factory's ability and vendors' ability to supply. And there's one more interesting factor. We have continuously spoken about us being a Atmanirbhar company and relying on domestic vendors, and that's why we've given out our China numbers consistently. It's always less than 5% of top line. So our imports from China have consistently been less than 5% of top line. During the year, there was a 11% appreciation of the Chinese currency against the US dollar. So those companies which were China dependent, which had not built capabilities in their factories, not only were they constrained to import, but they were unable to price their product to pass on those increases to the consumer. So these are a lot of moving parts, and each of the moving parts is working in favor of the company right now.
So sir, in this quarter, current quarter, that our production is normalized, right, for the plant? Q1.
Correct.
And so whatever sales you lost technically because of COVID in the first quarter, we'll be able to catch up with that because we have the production ready in the incremental quarters, right?
That's right.
Great, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Before we take the next question, a reminder to the participants, in order to ensure that the management is able to address questions from all participants, please limit your questions to two per participant. Should you have any follow-up, may be requested to rejoin the queue. The next question is from the line of Pritesh Chheda from Lucky Investment Managers. Please go ahead.
Thank you for the opportunity. Sir, it would be helpful if you could give the mix for FY21 and what was the growth or decline in your four categories for FY21. That's the first question. And second, so what is the total price hike that you would have taken in FY21 which flows through in FY22? And did we somewhere mention that there is a possibility of 1,400 plus crore of sales in FY22? Is my second question.
So I'll answer the first question first. For the quarter, sanitary ware was 40.
No, I want for full year, sir.
I'll give you both.
No, quarter four I have written. For full year if you could.
Okay, so for the full year, sanitary ware was 48.51% of top line. Faucetware was 28.28. Tiles was 20.80 and wellness was 2.41.
And the corresponding growth rates or decline in sanitary ware, faucetware?
Sanitary ware was a decline of 0.62%. Faucetware grew by 10.49%. Tiles was minus 6.62 and wellness was minus 34.54. And then coming to price increase, in August, we took a price hike of 3 to 5% across all products.
Okay.
And in February 2021, we took in sanitary ware between 5 to 7% and in faucetware 8 to 10%.
Okay. Basically, please go ahead, sir.
So the way the brass prices have behaved, there is a good case to have an intermediate price hike between now and August. So that is under discussion. It may or may not take place. That's under discussion right now. And the third question was your the run rate on revenues, right?
Yeah, you mentioned something on lost sale of 21 of 100 crores. So you think a certain sale of 22 is possible? What was your number?
Because the factory had a 82-day disruption in Q3 and it had a 45-day lower than normal capacity utilization in Q4. Complicated products which were made at the factory could not be sourced from anywhere else because vendors can't make those products. So lost sales of 100 crores took place if you combine Q3 and Q4. So that's why if you look at our 1,201 crore top line, it's closer to 1,310 in any case.
1,410. That's how you're putting it.
Yes. So 16-17% growth is the normal run rate. I'm not even looking at this 46% run rate that we had Q4 versus Q4.
So you're saying that 15 to 17% growth rate is possible next year is how you're putting on a normalized on that 1,200 crore revenue because you're assuming it's not 1,200 but actually it is 1,300. That's how you're putting it.
That's right.
Okay. And lastly, sir, on the margin side, aren't there any levers on higher scale which can flow through on the margin profile?
There are 2-3 levers. First, we had a burst in advertising and publicity spends from September 19 to March 20. And that's the reason advertising and publicity during this lockdown year could be curtailed, because that was a very successful campaign.
Okay.
That is one. Then 10 crores of contracts for rentals and go down rents, etc., were renegotiated. So that was another reduction in fixed costs. And finally, if you look at the ratio of variable cost to fixed cost in the company, it's 80-20.
Yeah.
So that will be a very important operating lever for the company. And fourth and most importantly, the margin profile for products taken in sanitary ware, especially from vendors, is as close to own manufactured products. So share of outsourcing will increase with increase in revenue, and the margin profile will be maintained. So these are the four levers.
Okay, so because the A&P spend was curtailed this year, right, in 21, is it a case where it rises and hence you are still pegging the margin at whatever 14.5 to 15.5%?
See, normally our advertising publicity is 4% of top line, but now that is no more a rigid rule, because the marketing professionals choose to have these spends in smaller bursts, and then they evaluate the impact, and then they go for many bursts during the year. So if a burst remains effective for 6 months or 9 months, then they postpone the next burst. That's how we calculate the numbers.
Can you quantify what is the A&P spend for 21 as a percentage of sales?
It will be around 1.5%.
Okay, so that is
Yes.
1.5 versus 4% in 20.
Correct. 3.5 in 20.
Okay. Should this go back to the normal?
No, it's not known right now.
Okay.
These are going to be small bursts, and then post-evaluation call will be taken. In any case, there's a shortage of product. So, yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. All the best.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Archana Gude from IDBI Capital. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Thank you for the opportunity and congratulations on a very good set of numbers. Sir, two questions. Sir, if you see, most of the organized players have gained the market share in last 2-3 quarters, maybe your pipes or maybe your paints. So how are we placed in terms of market share?
See, currently there is no external data available or industry-wide data available for us to be able to compute any market share. So we consider ourselves to be market leaders, and others will tell you the same thing. Our sanitary ware numbers are well known. So it is HSIL, Cera and Jaguar are neck and neck, and Parry is one step behind in sanitary ware numbers. We are number 2 to the market leader in faucetware. So we know our faucetware numbers and the other players' faucetware numbers. So, I mean, industry data is not really available or validated by third parties. So for me to compare on us on an industry-wide basis is very difficult. In any case, all the MNCs are unlisted. Couple of domestic players which are held by MNCs are also unlisted. So it's very difficult to get authenticated data.
So what I was trying to understand is that the competitive intensity from the small unorganized players has reduced in the last couple of quarters? Is what I want to understand.
In sanitary ware, that theme of unorganized to organized has fully played out. Mm-hmm. Because sanitary ware players provide a 10-year warranty on the ceramic product. There is after-sales service. Similarly, for faucet also, we are the only company to provide a 10-year warranty versus a 5-year warranty by the rest of industry. So after-sales service, availability of spares, those have become very critical factors. The price gap for a product that's going to last you between 10 and 20 years sometimes is minuscule at the lower end. So that theme of sanitary ware moving from unorganized to organized is more or less played out. 80% plus of the market in any case would be organized.
Okay. And faucetware?
Faucetware, anything between 60 and 70% is organized.
Okay. Sure. And sir, this second wave of COVID has been very badly affecting the ruler, which was supporting the Q3 and Q4 sales. So how has been April and May for us? Is there any improvement from June, beginning of the June in demand?
See, demand continues to be very strong, and the problem for us was supply.
Okay.
So the most important factor during the second wave in April and June was the factory was continued to operate at 95% capacity.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever little inventory has been built up will easily get absorbed in June and July. Last year we were grappling with supply issues throughout the year. This year that is the single-minded focus of the company. So demand is not an issue. Project sites remained open during the second wave in most places, and only retail and dealers suffered, which that demand will come back very strongly in June, July.
Sure, sir. And so lastly, so do we have any dividend policy at place?
Yes, yesterday a revised dividend policy which takes into account lot of external economic and internal factors such as availability of positive cash flow, capex requirements, business risks, all that has been captured in a document. In any case, there is a dividend policy on our website for many years, and that has been revised with a little bit of more focus with numerical clarity, and that will be immediately placed on the website. It was adopted by the board of directors yesterday. So the past dividend guidance of between 14 to 18% of PAT being declared as dividend, that is pretty much the guidance going forward.
Sure, sir. Sure. Thank you so much and all the best, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. A reminder to the participants, please limit your questions to 2 per participant. Should you have any follow-up, may we request you to rejoin the queue. The next question is from the line of Prakash Kapadia from Anivet Portfolio Managers. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. I had 2 questions. Now, on the real estate sector, we are seeing larger cities demand for, households being much better this time as compared to, tier 3, tier 4 cities. So, historically, what trend have you seen is, metro cities and, tier 1 cities see higher demand? Is it easier to sell, more value-added products or high value-added products? Are we also witnessing that trend? And, if that hypothesis is true, then, the value growth should be much higher than what, we are looking at in the near term.
The metro towns, especially Delhi, Bombay and Bangalore, they look very appealing to all sanitaryware and faucetware companies. So maximum efforts by any new entrant in the business, especially MNCs, are made in these 3 markets. So not only is there intense price competition, but companies spent a huge amount on display, rentals and renovation of the interiors. Dealers also are very demanding. They want to get a lot of freebies from the company. So we believe that the competitive intensity in tier 1 towns is much higher, and that's why historically our numbers have been always tilted towards tier 3 towns. So if you would like, I can give you the breakup. There's not much change in the percentage, but our focus has always been tier 2 and tier 3 towns, where 65 to 70% of our sales take place. Tier 1 towns, of course, we have a significant presence in these 3 markets, but the competitive intensity and the focus of all MNCs is in these 3 places.
Okay. So even now we are witnessing that trend. You're saying there is no major change in terms of metro or tier 2, tier 3 cities even now.
So I'll give you some data that will give you throw further light. So for in Q4, tier 1 was 31% of top line for us, and for the year it was about 27% of top line. Tier 2 was 14% for the year, also 14%. Tier 3 was 54% of top line in Q4, and for the year it was 58%.
And on the tier 2, tier 3 side, so in the gone by quarter, most of the lockdown was more broad based this time as compared to the lockdown last year. So how does that demand shape up? Is there a huge pent up demand because most of the retailers were shut or semi shut practically say for 35-40 days during the quarter. So does that incremental demand also lead to pent up demand once things open up? And how do you cope up in that scenario where you are saying obviously the plant and capacity ramp up seems to be the focus. So how are we managing the scenario between the possible higher demand and capacity?
See, second wave happened in April and May. So till 31st March, there was virtually no impact on any market shutting down. During the second wave, most of our project customers continued to function. Now the dealers that shut down, they have merely staggered their demand. So I would not call it pent up demand. I will call it a chain of sustainable demand which has got staggered by 60 or 90 days. So since August, I've been saying that, this is not any pent up demand. This is not a, must have consumer durable. It's completely discretionary, but there has been a sequence of events where a lot of projects have now neared completion. Because the end consumer is buying, projects find it easier to complete and sell their inventory. And that's where we come in. So sanitary ware companies come in the last 3 to 4 months of project completion. That's been a real awakening. That's been a positive surprise, and that is fully sustainable. So I don't see this trend as pent up at all. Even retail customers and dealers are simply staggering their purchases due to the second wave. The important thing was to keep sourcing from vendors and keep the factory operational. So last May and last April 2020, there were negligible sales. This May and April were decent sales. So we definitely crossed 3 digits combined in these 2 months. So if you compare it to last year, it was much higher. If you compare it to any other normalized year, it was lower, but it will easily be made up in June, July.
Understood. Thanks. That helps. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Saurabh Shroff from QRC Investment Advisors. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi Ayush. Congratulations on a great set of numbers. Ayush, my one question is, you mentioned multiple times that demand is much stronger than supply, and I'm guessing this is in your case as well as the industry. Can you help us understand what is our capacity addition plan, and do we see any issues in meeting this demand, or what are we going to do about it?
See, because we have been very careful with capex all these years. We didn't ramp up capacity in our manufacturing operations. We chose to build up capabilities. And that worked out well for us because we were neither China dependent, and in any case, Indian vendors were not in a position to manufacture many of the complicated pieces in sanitary ware and faucetware. So each year a new list is made on basic items to be outsourced to third-party vendors, and that continues. So as the top line grows, the bulk of the contribution of incremental sales will continue to come from vendors. And our factory will be used to make more and more high-end pieces. So if you ask me volumes of the factory, that may not be a good benchmark, but value being made in the factory will continue to increase both sanitary ware and faucetware. So I'll just give you some flavor on the capex that we have planned. So for the year 2021, the total capex budget was 21.82 crores, of which only 9.84 crores was spent. And for financial year 21-22, the total budget is 25.59 crores, of which the split is sanitaryware automation is 6.69 crores, faucetware automation 4.97 crores, 8.4 crores in customer touchpoints, and logistics and IT is 5.53 crores. So there's no major capacity addition planned in the current plant right now.
So between this whole outsourcing mix, you think that we should not be at a disadvantage in terms of meeting the strong demand that is there, clearly.
See, that's why we are all looking at all options. First, a lot of cash was released by compressing the net working capital days from 74 to 52. So maybe that 52 needs to go up a little bit. The inventory days needs to go up a little bit from current level of 51 days. So that those are under discussion. There are plans being made to increase inventory days so that we don't have to turn away any customer like we had to last year. So that's the single most important factor for the company this year.
Okay, got it. And I saw on your website you all have started some Italian kitchen line as well. I'm guessing it's still very small, but can you talk us through how you all are thinking about adjacencies and new lines of business?
See, we entered into arrangement with an Italian company where we would not have to incur neither any capex nor any opex. So this is a brand called Senator Cucini. We take a full advance from a customer and we design a bespoke kitchen for his home. And the designs are then implemented in the Italian partner's factory in Italy and then shipped to India where it's installed. So this is a zero working capital or OPEX business, and it's still very small. Top line is less than 5 crores. So as and when it scales up beyond 10 crores, then of course the board will take a call on what it wants to do with that business.
Okay. And any other sort of products that you all have added? I mean, there was a whole plethora of wellness products and now this kitchen line. So I just want to understand how the board and the management is thinking in terms of new lines of businesses. And what do you think is the potential scale on this kitchen business? Because obviously this is very high and I guess competing with the big brands. And correct me if I'm wrong. So is this a competition with a Pogenpol and a Hafele and things like that? Or is it more Indian pricing though Italian product?
See, it's right at the bottom of the pyramid, starting at 2.5 lakh rupees for an entire kitchen. So it competes with even a carpenter's version of a kitchen, and it can go up to 15 lakhs. And we figured that between 15 and 30 lakhs and beyond, there's a lot of competition. We don't want to be there. We want to be at the bottom of the pyramid to get certain volumes. And we got a very good deal from our Italian partner. So
at 2.5 lakh, I'm sorry, at 2.5 lakh, this is still all imported, landed into India.
Yes.
With margins for us and them.
Plus gadgets, plus electronic white goods.
Of course, yeah. Okay, got it. Okay, this is interesting.
Then the second question you asked about new SKUs. So I'll just tell you why our SKU focus remains in sanitaryware and faucetware. There are plenty of opportunities in sanitaryware and faucetware. Even during these COVID times, in sanitaryware in Q4 we launched 22 products and during the year we launched 75 products. In faucet, during the year we launched 11 products. So there are plenty of opportunities in these two businesses. And we had as a pilot project started 3 years ago a water heater business, which became a 8.5 to 10 crore business. So the board is not very keen to have any of these 8.5 to 10 crore kind of businesses, which are too small for the company. So gradually the water heater business will be phased out. So that's what you mentioned on the wellness side.
Sure, got it. Okay. Thank you and all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Achal Lohade from JM Financial. Please go ahead.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity. My first question is, how do we look at the tiles business? I mean, it's been a few quarters that, we are kind of struggling with the numbers. On a YY, it is a strong growth of 40%, but if I look at on a 2-year CAGR, it is still a drop. So how do we look at this business in terms of the scale up? Where are we in terms of the growth aspiration?
See, the tiles business has worked out well for us for 2-3 reasons. First, now soluble salt is only 7% of sales. This is the first time that soluble salt is single digit. That's low end and lowest margin. And GVT plus double charge is now almost 55% of sales, which is the highest and high margin. So though Cera doesn't have any market leadership or brand premium in tiles like it has in sanitaryware and faucetware, the tiles business is operating on 50% cash and carry. So again, inventory days are reduced. Inventory days in tiles is close to zero because there is direct dispatch from vendors to the marketplace. So 1/3 of our total tile sales is from our joint venture alliance companies and 2/3 is from completely third-party vendors. So inventory days are close to zero. And finally, receivable days. The tiles industry as a whole has always had a problem of high receivable days. Right. So 50% is cash and carry, and all incremental dealers are being added only on 100% cash and carry. And we do not conduct any tile sales below a certain threshold margin. So though the tile sales may not be a very large number, but every sale is profitable and we have incurred no capex. See, if we had put up a plant, then we're dealing with a lot of issues in a plant and, how do you respond to changing design changes and all of those factors. So the decision taken in 2015-16 was the most important decision not to invest in any capacity.
Right. So how do we look at it in terms of going forward? Is it going to be a big growth driver or not really? It will be in line with the aggregate growth, you're saying?
It all depends on the tiles market growth. You see, the market leaders are also exporting a lot of tiles. We have not been in a position to export tiles. So the top line that the market leaders are saying is also a result of tiles export. So that is not happening. But overall profitability in tiles is increasing. We are getting some pricing power and 55 to 60% high-end sales. So that's the most important factor.
Right. Understood. And just one more question with respect to sanitaryware. Now, if I look at our, top line for sanitaryware in FY19 was close to 700 crores. For FY21, we've closed at 582. And you said that we lost about 100 crores of revenues, largely in the sanitaryware piece, right? So that means 2 years we were kind of flat, even if I gross it up. So how do we see the growth? I mean, when you say 15-17% growth, is it going to be largely driven by, the faucet, or even sanitaryware can grow at that pace, given the competitive intensity?
See, sanitaryware, we achieved 581 crores this year in 6 months of effective working. And our highest number was 603 crores of 19-20. So we are almost there. On the best 12-year numbers have been achieved in effective 6 months. In faucetware, again, we have beaten all previous numbers. Even the best year numbers have been beaten. So faucetware, 339 crores. And we are a market number 2 in faucetware. And we are only a 11-year-old player in faucetware. So 16-17% was the growth being offered by the market even during this year, which we couldn't monetize.
And this you're talking about, sorry, I'm interrupting, Ayush. This you're talking market growth for faucet or sanitary plus faucet put together?
I'm saying in sanitaryware, we achieved 581 crores in 6 months of effective working.
Right.
Our all-time highest number of sanitaryware was 603 crores. So then you can understand the company's achievements. So achieving another 16-17% growth, adding another 100 crores to sanitary ware during 2021 is not difficult because demand allows that. Secondly, faucetware. We achieved 339 crores, which is higher than even the best year of 1920. Again, we got about 9 months of effective working in faucetware. So adding another 50 crores in this year is not difficult. Whether tiles adds top line or not, these two businesses together can easily add 150 crores, is what I'm saying.
Right. Understood. And, in terms of... I'll come back in this. No problem.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Rajesh Ravi from HDFC Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, sir. Will you share the quarterly revenue breakup?
Sir,
I missed
if you
out.
can speak closer to the handset, please.
Hello. Am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Sir, can you give the revenue breakup for the quarter and last year same quarter, please? I missed out.
Yes, sure. Sanitary ware is 48.67% of sales this quarter. For the year, it's 48.51. Faucetware is 29.81 for the quarter and 28.28 for the year. Tiles is 19.70 for the quarter and 20.80 for the year. And wellness is 1.82 for the quarter and 2.41 for the year.
Okay. And sir, in terms of our balance sheet, now we have significant cash balance, and your capex outlook also is, you're not expected to incur major capex, large capex. So, what's the plan for this cash pile up, which will continue?
So we had 230 crores of cash balance when we started the year, 1st April 2020, and working capital days was 74. So working capital days, which came down by 1/3 to 52, was one of the reasons why cash in hand increased consistently every quarter, and now we've ended up with 459 crores plus unrealized gains of 20 crores, making it 479 crores. Some part of that will be used this year to increase our inventory days.
Right.
And that's going to be very important. Capex is planned only at 22 crores, and each year we had cash surplus due to profits of between 118 to about 150 crores. So this year, if you add the PAT and depreciation, is about 135 crores, and you take away capex of 9 crores and dividend of 20 crores, that leaves you again with a cash surplus of 105 crores even for the year. So if your question is there a major capex plan currently? We have toyed with a few plans, but no decision has been taken. And if there's a special dividend or a buyback plan, that also has not been, that's a decision that has not come in front of the board, so no decision has been taken.
Okay. Because what we understand is that even incrementally for FY22, given the top line that you're looking at with a healthy margin of around 14-15%, our cash accrual will be strong even in FY22. Even if we factor in the working capital increase, then also, you may not have to dig into your FY21 balance cash. Is the understanding right?
That's correct.
Okay. Okay, sir. And, on the segment-wise growth outlook, as you mentioned that in sanitary ware you're looking to add, at least 100 crore growth, top line growth this year, and 50 crore in the faucetware. But when I have to look at 2 to 3 year view, what is your outlook? Will they continue to, both these businesses will continue to grow at 15-17%, or do you see different growth trajectory for these two business segments?
See, the best way to look at that is to look at the past. So even during the downturn in real estate, the company's top line doubled itself every 5 years. And that happened twice between 2010 to 2015 and from 2015 to 2020.
Okay.
So going forward on a higher base, we always estimated that the company will now double itself every 7 years. But given the surge in demand, we expect again the company to double itself every 5 years.
Okay.
So if you look at that, 15 to 17% top line increase is definitely possible, both in the short term and in the medium term, consistently every year.
Okay. And almost 50%
Mr. Ravi, so sorry to interrupt, but for any follow-up, may we request you to rejoin the queue, please. The next question is from the line of Rahul Agarwal from InCred Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi, good morning, and thanks for the opportunity. Congratulations for a good result. Just two questions, Ayush. Firstly, on the capex side, when you say 9 crores to be spent on customer touch points, which is basically part of sales and marketing, could you explain a bit, as in exactly, where is this money spent, and how does it help in incremental sales? That's the first question.
So we have company-owned 10 large format customer touch points in the major metros. And because of the surge in demand in states like AP, Telangana and Karnataka, we put up very large format of between 8,000 to 12,000 square feet customer touch points which are owned by the company in Hyderabad and Bangalore, where there are tremendous amount of walk-in customers, and these are experiential customer touch points. So there are no sales taking place from these, and the customer is then directed to a dealer in his project's area, or a dealer contacts them, etc. So we found a direct correlation between surge in sales and spending on these customer touch points. These are all either in large format office buildings or malls or retail outlets or shopping areas. So the Hyderabad one is just opposite IKEA in Gachibowli. In Bangalore, we have it on 100 Feet Road, so the best two locations possible. And these are visited by plumbing contractors, civil contractors, architects, homeowners, and developers. Now, we are also toying with a hybrid model where we go to a dealer and try and create some uniformity in their retail outlets designed with the customers, with the company-owned experience center. So by spending 1.5 crores on a dealer's outlet, we can achieve what we would by spending 3.5 crores on a company-owned outlet. So the hybrid model is under discussion, and the company might open a few of its own large format customer touch points. The real estate is never owned, it is always rented. So this is largely the interiors and the fit outs.
Got it. And secondly, you mentioned on the market share bit, obviously there are no numbers, sanctity, but still just to discuss, HSIL, Cera and Jacquard, you said, are neck to neck on sanitary ware, Parryware a notch below, and on faucets we are the number 2 player. Is this correct?
That's right.
And on the market size, basically, if the way I understand, sanitary ware is about 4,500 to 5,000 crores and faucets is about 8,500 to 10,000 crores. Is that correct? That's the range to work with?
So sanitary ware, though we really don't have an authentic number, is little lower than the number that you mentioned.
Okay. Got it. That helps. Thank you so much. All the best.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the last question. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Ayush Wagla for closing comments. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Steve. I would like to thank everyone for attending this call and for showing interest in Cera Sanitaryware Limited. Cera remains positive that its strong positioning in the industry and improving macros would help it deliver steady and consistent growth going forward. With this, I hope I've been able to answer your questions satisfactorily. Should any of you need any clarification or would like to know more about the company, please feel free to reach out to me or CDR India. Thank you once again for taking time to join the call, and see you all next quarter. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Cera Sanitaryware Limited, that concludes this conference. We thank you all for joining us, and you may now disconnect your lines.